Far away in the silent darkness of space, the great Galactic Council gathered inside a hall of shining crystal. Alien leaders of many species sat in a circle. Their faces were grim, their eyes restless. They spoke in low, careful voices, as if the very shadows might overhear them. A tall alien with scales of silver broke the silence. Once again, we sent scouts to the blue planet. Once again, they did not return. The hall filled with whispers. Clawed hands tapped on the table, wings rustled, eyes narrowed. Another leader, with skin like molten stone, leaned forward. That planet is cursed. We call it Earth, but no one truly knows what lives there. Every time we send observers, they vanish. No trace, no message. A nervous voice trembled from the corner. Perhaps the humans discovered us. Perhaps they ended the scouts. No, the silver-scaled alien said coldly. Humans are primitive. They have weak weapons, short lives. They cannot fight our kind. His tone was sharp, but his eyes betrayed doubt. The chamber fell quiet again. For years, this question had haunted them. Why did no scout ever return from Earth? Was it chance or something darker? At last, the leader with stone-like skin raised his hand. We must know the truth. Fear spreads through the council. Rumors of Earth grow louder. Some say humans hide secret power. Some say the planet itself consumes those who land there. We cannot live with these shadows, the silver-scaled alien hissed softly. Then we send the best, 4 scouts strong, trained, fearless. Let them uncover the truth. A murmur of agreement moved through the hall, but no one admitted what they truly felt. Sending more scouts was not courage. It was desperation. Far away, in a dark hangar hidden inside a moon base, 4 alien scouts prepared for departure. Each wore black armor that shimmered faintly under the lights. Their ship was small, sharp like a blade, built for stealth and speed. One scout, with insect-like eyes, tightened the straps of his armor. "We go where none return," he muttered. His voice carried both pride and fear. Another, taller and armored with bone-like plates, answered with a low growl. "We are not like the others. We will succeed." The third scout, thin and pale with glowing veins, checked the control screens. "If we fail, at least the council will know. Our signals will carry back." The fourth, the youngest of them, remained silent. He only stared at the stars beyond the hangar doors, where a small blue planet waited like a shining trap. The gates opened. Their ship roared to life, slicing into the black sea of space. The mission had begun. Days passed as the vessel crossed the void. At last, Earth appeared in their viewports, a sphere of oceans, land, and clouds. The planet glowed quietly under the sun, beautiful yet unsettling. The youngest scout whispered, "It looks peaceful." The insect-eyed one clicked his jaws. "Do not trust appearances. Death often hides behind beauty." The ship descended, slipping through clouds like a shadow. Below, green forests stretched endlessly. Rivers curled like silver snakes. And human cities sparkled with lights. The pale scout leaned closer to the glass. "Strange. Humans seem busy, careless, unaware of us. How could such creatures stop our people?" But as he spoke, the ship shuddered. A burst of static crawled across their screens. The controls flickered, lights dimmed. The tall scout growled, "Interference. This planet does not welcome us." They landed deep inside a forest, far from human eyes. The air outside was fresh, damp with the smell of soil and leaves. But silence pressed heavily around them, like a weight. The youngest scout stepped out first. He felt the ground vibrate faintly under his boots, as if the earth itself was breathing. He froze. "Do you feel that?" he asked. The insect-eyed one crouched, touching the soil with sharp claws. His eyes narrowed. "Yes, this world watches us." That night, they set up their equipment, preparing to study humans. Drones flew into cities, Cameras observed schools, armies, scientists. The scouts expected weakness. Instead, they saw something unexpected. Humans were small compared to most alien races, but they were fast. They argued, fought, and then laughed together. They built machines from scraps, weapons from nothing, and when those broke, they built again. The Pale Scout frowned at the data. They are not strong, but they are unpredictable. They fall and then they rise, over and over. This is not normal. The Tall Scout folded his arms. Unpredictable is not dangerous. We will learn, we will return. But suddenly, the screens went dark. Their data, hours of careful observation, was gone. Deleted. Words appeared in simple human language, glowing. On every display, we see you. The youngest scout felt his heart hammer. Impossible. How could they break our systems? No one answered. The silence was louder than any words. The insect-eyed scout finally spoke. His voice was low, cold. We are not the hunters here. We are the prey. A chill moved through the group. For the first time, they realized what the others before them might have felt. Just before they vanished out in the forest outside, the night grew darker. No insects sang, no wind stirred the leaves. The world seemed to hold its breath. Inside the camp, the scouts checked their weapons, pretending they were not afraid. But each of them felt it, the eyes unseen but watching. The youngest whispered, "If the council never heard from the others, will they ever hear from us?" No one answered him, for they already knew the truth. And somewhere beyond the trees, something moved. The forest was quiet, too quiet for comfort. The 4 alien scouts moved carefully through the trees, their armor glowing faintly under the moonlight. Every step crunched against the soil, but no bird flew, no insect sang, and no wind touched. The branches. The youngest scout shivered. "This place feels wrong," he whispered. The tall scout growled back. "Fear makes you imagine things. Stay focused. We watch, we learn, we leave." But even he glanced around uneasily, as if the shadows between the trees were not empty at all. They set up a small base among the roots of an ancient tree. Strange machines hummed softly as they studied the human world from a distance. There, drones circled cities, scanned armies, and slipped into crowded streets. At first, everything seemed ordinary. Humans laughed in their homes, fought in their bars, and worked in their factories. Soldiers trained in fields, scientists tested machines, children ran in playgrounds. The Pale Scout leaned close to a screen. "Look at them, so fragile, so loud. They do not even notice us." The insect-eyed scout tilted his head. "No, they notice. Watch their eyes, watch their movements. They act normal, but they look around too much. As if they know." The youngest scout frowned. "Know what?" The insect-eyed one's voice dropped low. "That we are here." The tall scout laughed harshly. "Nonsense. These creatures are clever in their own way, but they are blind compared to us. Do not let fear make you weak." Still, when the drones returned, something strange appeared. One by one, the cameras showed glitches, static across the screens. Sudden cuts of darkness, shapes moving too fast to see. The Pale Scout tapped the controls. "Our recordings, they are broken. Someone is erasing them." The youngest scout leaned closer. "Or someone is watching us through them." Silence filled the camp. No one spoke for several moments, each of them listening to the quiet forest. Their hearts beating faster. Then a sharp crack echoed through the trees. A branch snapped, heavy footsteps pressed against the ground. The tall scout drew his weapon. "Stay alert." They spread out, their glowing eyes searching the shadows. But when they reached the source of the sound, they found nothing but broken wood. "Something was here," the youngest whispered. The insect-eyed scout's voice was a hiss. "Something still is." That night, when the others rested inside the camp, the insect-eyed scout kept watch. His senses were sharp, trained for hunting. He sat near the glowing machines, eyes fixed on the forest. The silence pressed harder now, like invisible weight. Even the stars above seemed distant and cold. Then he heard it, breathing. Slow, steady human breathing. He rose silently, weapon ready, and stepped into the trees. The sound grew clearer. He saw movement in the shadows, the outline of a human figure standing between the trunks. "Show yourself," he demanded. The figure did not move. He stepped closer. The human was tall but ordinary, dark clothes, pale skin, empty hands, yet its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Who are you?" the scout asked. The human only tilted its head. Then, in a voice that was soft and calm, it whispered, "We see you." The scout fired his weapon, a beam of light cutting through the night. But the figure vanished instantly, like smoke carried by the wind. The others rushed from the camp, weapons raised. "What happened?" the tall scout demanded. Insect-eyed one's voice shook, though he tried to sound strong. "A human, but not a human. It spoke to me." The pale scout looked around nervously. "Spoke? How?" "None of them should even know we are here." The youngest swallowed hard. "What did it say?" The insect-eyed scout answered in a whisper. "It said, it sees us." The next day, they tried to leave. Their ship waited in the forest clearing, its silver surface glimmering in the light. But when the pale scout activated the controls, the screen only showed one message in glowing human letters: "Access denied." The tall scout slammed his fist against the console. "Impossible. No one in this world has the knowledge to control our ship." The pale scout stepped back, his face pale. "Then it is not this world. It is them. The humans are more than they appear." Suddenly, the youngest scout shouted. "Where is he?" They turned. The insect-eyed scout was gone. His seat was empty. His weapon lay on the ground. No sound. No struggle. The tall scout roared. "Search the forest." They scattered through the trees, calling out, their voices echoing into the silence. But there was no answer, no trace, no footprints. It was as if the insect-eyed scout had melted into the air itself. The youngest trembled. "This is what happened to the others before us. This is why no one returns." The pale scout gripped his weapon tightly. "One by one, we will disappear." The tall scout shook his head violently. "No, we are stronger than these creatures. We fight, we survive, He stopped. Because in that moment, from deep in the forest, they heard a voice. The voice of the missing scout. Called their names. Calm, steady, familiar. But when they ran toward the sound, they found only his armor lying on the ground, empty and cold. The youngest whispered in horror. "They took him." The pale scout raised his eyes to the trees. His voice was hollow. "No, they did not take him. They changed him." And as the sun set over Earth, 3 scouts stood alone in a silent forest, knowing the hunt had already begun. The forest grew darker as the sun sank behind the horizon. 3 scouts remained, standing in silence where the armor of their companion lay. The insect-eyed scout had vanished without a sound, leaving behind only the cold shell of what once protected him. The youngest scout spoke first, his voice shaking. "He called to us. I heard him, but it wasn't him." The pale scout nodded slowly, his glowing veins dim. It was his voice, but empty, hollow, as if someone else wore it. The tall scout clenched his fists. "Enough, he is gone. We will not waste time on fear. We must complete the mission and return." The youngest looked at him with wide eyes. "Return to what?" "Our ship is locked, our signals are cut, and something is hunting us. Do you not see it? Earth itself does not let us leave." The tall scout growled, turning away. "I refuse to believe these fragile creatures can defeat us." But even his voice carried cracks of doubt. They moved deeper into the forest, carrying their scanners and weapons. Strange energy waves pulsed faintly through the soil, and their devices struggled to read anything. Every few steps, the machines flickered with static. The pale scout stopped and pointed at the screen. Look, again. The display showed human cities glowing with life. But hidden under the surface were strange signals, too regular to be natural, too fast to be human technology. Youngest whispered, so it's true. They hide something underground. The pale scout's voice was grim. No, not underground, everywhere. The tall scout barked, nonsense. These are errors, malfunctions caused by the planet. The pale scout stared at him. Are you blind? This is not malfunction. This is intelligence. The humans know we are here. They watch us. The youngest clutched his weapon tighter. If they know, then why don't they attack? The pale scout's answer was cold. Because they don't need to. They are waiting. That night, the scouts tried to rest, but the forest gave no peace. Every time they closed their eyes, they heard whispers, soft and distant, like human voices echoing in the wind. The youngest sat up suddenly. Did you hear that? The tall scout snarled. Silence. You imagine. But then he froze. The voice came again, clear and close. A human child's laughter, drifting through the trees. The youngest whispered, Children, here? The pale scout shook his head. No children wander in a forest at night. They rose together, weapons ready. The laughter grew louder, circling them, but no figure appeared. The trees swayed though there was no wind. Shadows stretched longer, bending unnaturally. The youngest shouted into the dark, Show yourself! The laughter stopped. Silence fell. Again, heavy and final dot, and then, from the edge of the clearing, a shape appeared. A human. A girl, no more than 12, with pale skin and dark hair. She wore no shoes, her feet touched the soil softly. Her eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. The scouts raised their weapons. Stay back, the tall one ordered, but the girl only tilted her head, smiling. You should not have come here. Her voice was calm, too calm. The youngest stepped back, fear flooding his chest. A child speaking our language? The pale scout whispered, This is no child. The tall scout shouted, What are you? The girl's smile widened. We are Earth. The forest moved at her words. Leaves shivered, roots twisted in the ground, and a low hum filled the air. The scouts staggered as their devices burst with static. The girl took a single step closer. You send watchers. None return. You wonder why. She looked at them with eyes too deep, too ancient. Because we do not allow it. The youngest raised his weapon, but the pale scout grabbed his arm. Do not fire. You do not understand. The tall scout snarled. I will not fear a child. He aimed directly at her chest and pulled the trigger. A flash of light shot through the forest. When it cleared, the girl still stood. The blast had vanished into the air before reaching her. She tilted her head again, her smile unchanged. Violence is useless here, she said softly. The tall scout's voice broke. Impossible. The girl whispered. Leave now if you wish to live, but you will not. And then, like mist, she was gone. The three scouts stood frozen in silence. The youngest finally spoke. She said she was Earth. The pale scout's voice was heavy with dread. Not Earth itself, but something connected to it. Humans are not what they seem. The tall scout shook his head violently. Lies, tricks, illusions to frighten us. I will not believe. He stopped, staring at the scanner on his wrist. The display showed hundreds of signals approaching them from every direction. Not animals, not machines. Human forms. The youngest gasped. They're surrounding us, the pale scout whispered. No. They are already here. All around the clearing, figures began to step out of the trees. Humans, silent, their eyes glowing faintly like the girl's. Men, women, children, all standing in silence, watching. The tall scout raised his weapon, his hands shaking. Stay back. The humans did not move. They only stared, unblinking. The youngest whispered, "They don't breathe." And then, as one, every human figure spoke. In perfect unison. A single voice from many mouths, "We see you." The forest roared with their words, shaking the ground beneath the scouts' feet. Lights on their armor flickered. Weapons grew heavy in their hands. The pale scout's voice was hollow, barely a whisper. "This is why no one returns." The youngest clutched his weapon tighter, eyes wide with terror. "Then we are next." The humans moved closer, step by step, silent as shadows. And in that moment, the three scouts realized they were no longer hunters, no longer observers. They were trapped prey in a world that had never been as weak as it seemed. The three remaining scouts huddled in the forest clearing, their armor glowing faintly in the moonlight. The humans were gone, but their presence still lingered. Every tree, every shadow seemed alive, moving just beyond sight. The youngest scout swallowed hard. "They are still watching us. I can feel it." The pale scout nodded grimly. "They never stopped. They are waiting for the right moment." The tall scout took a deep breath and squared his shoulders. "We are stronger than this world. We will find our missing companion and leave. Now move." They stepped carefully along a narrow path, leaves crunching softly under their feet. The forest seemed endless, the darkness thickening around them. Every rustle made them tense. A sudden flash of movement caught the youngest scout's eye. "Did you see that?" The pale scout stopped. "See what?" Before he could finish, a human figure appeared from between two trees. A man, ordinary in appearance, but his eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The scouts raised their weapons instantly. "Stay back!" The tall scout shouted. The human did not move. His gaze was calm, unblinking. Then, with a single step, he vanished. As if swallowed by the shadows, the youngest scout whispered, "It's impossible." "How did he—" A sudden scream cut through the forest. It was the tall scout, shouting as he ran forward. The pale scout and the youngest followed, hearts pounding. They arrived at a small clearing where the tall scout's voice had come from. But it was empty. His armor lay on the ground, torn and scorched, but he was nowhere to be seen. The youngest froze. "He's gone." The pale scout clenched his fists. Like the others, one by one, they take them. Fear surged through them. Every step forward felt heavier, the shadows stretching like fingers reaching for them. The forest seemed to close in around their small forms. "Where are they?" The youngest whispered, voice trembling. Why don't they leave us?" "Alone? They are not leaving," the pale scout said. "They want us, and they do not need weapons to take us." They moved faster, the youngest leading, the pale scout scanning the forest with every sense alert. Suddenly, the ground beneath. The youngest scout trembled. A root shot up like a snake, wrapping around his leg. He screamed, "Help! I'm stuck!" The pale scout lunged to pull him free, but the root tightened, biting into his armor. From the shadows, hundreds of small figures appeared. Humans, ordinary at first glance, but their eyes glowed faintly in unison. They did not speak. They only watched. "Run!" The pale scout shouted, dragging the youngest free. They stumbled forward, weapons useless against the forest itself. Roots twisted under their feet, branches blocked their path, and the shadows pressed closer. Every moment brought new obstacles, as if the forest itself was alive. A weapon wielded by unseen hands. A scream echoed from behind. The youngest turned, heart hammering. Another scout had vanished. The tall scout, the insect-eyed scout, or someone else. He could not tell. Only fear remained. The pale scout gritted his teeth. "We cannot stop. Move." They ran through the forest, stumbling, tripping over roots and rocks. Every rustle made them spin around, but nothing could be seen, only the feeling of eyes, hundreds of glowing eyes, tracking every move. Suddenly, the youngest scout tripped and fell into a shallow ravine. The pale scout reached for him, but hands seemed to grab from every direction. He struggled to pull the scout free, but invisible force pressed against him. A whisper floated through the air, soft but terrifying. "You cannot leave," the youngest scout screamed. His body shook as if invisible hands held him, lifting him slightly off the ground. His eyes widened in terror. The pale scout shouted, "No, let him go." But the forest answered only with silence, then a sudden stillness so complete it pressed into their minds. The youngest scout vanished, leaving only the faint imprint of his boots in the soil. The pale scout staggered back, heart racing, every nerve screaming. He was alone. Only the forest remained, dark and whispering. He dropped to his knees, breathing heavily. I cannot fight this. I cannot." A soft voice came from the shadows. "Calm, patient. You are still here because you understand. Do not resist." The pale scout raised his weapon, shaking. What are you?" The voice came again, closer now. "We are Earth. We are its watchers. We allow nothing to leave. Nothing escapes." The pale scout's knees gave way. He sank to the ground, realizing the truth. All the scouts, all those who went before, none returned. A low hum filled the forest, vibrating through his armor, his bones. Shadows moved in patterns too quick to follow, branches bending unnaturally, roots twisting like serpents. He tried to run, but the path behind him had vanished. The forest shifted, closing every escape route. Panic overwhelmed him. From the corner of his vision, a pale human figure emerged. The girl, the one who had spoken before, stepped silently from the shadows. Her eyes glowed faintly, and her voice was soft but cold. "You cannot leave," she said. The pale scout's weapon trembled in his hands. I don't understand. We are scouts. We only observe." The girl tilted her head. "Observation is not allowed. We do not tolerate intruders. You see what humans are, yet you do not see what Earth is. Every scout before you, every one, disappeared because they underestimated." The forest itself seemed to lean closer, as if listening to her words. Roots shifted, trees swayed, shadows twisted. The pale scout took a step back. I will try to leave. Please let me go." The girl smiled faintly and with a wave of her hand, the forest obeyed. Roots lifted, shadows receded. But as he stepped forward, the sound of whispers filled the air again. Hundreds of human voices, low and synchronized. "We see you. You cannot leave." He spun around, only to find the path gone. The forest had swallowed it. Panic gripped him as he realized he was alone, trapped in a living nightmare. The hum grew louder, vibrating through his mind. Every sense screamed. Forest pulsed, alive with unseen power. And then, the pale scout understood. It was not just humans. The planet itself was part of them, part of the hunt. There was no escape. With a final scream, he vanished, swallowed by the shadows and the forest itself, leaving nothing behind but his glowing armor. The forest fell silent again. The moonlight touched the ground, but the clearing was empty. Earth had claimed its watchers once more. The pale scout stumbled through the thick forest, his armor scratched and glowing faintly from strain. The forest had swallowed his companions, one by one, leaving him alone. Every step he took felt watched, every shadow moved with purpose. He stopped, crouching behind a massive root, catching his breath. I cannot fight them," he whispered to himself. "They are everywhere." A faint rustle of leaves made him tense. From the darkness, a figure emerged, a man, ordinary at first glance, but his eyes shone with a strange intensity. The scout raised his weapon instinctively. "Do not fire," the man said calmly. "It will not help you." The pale scout narrowed his eyes. "Who are you? Why are you doing this?" The man tilted his head. "You call us humans. We call ourselves Watchers. We are Earth's guardians. You thought you could observe, but observation comes at a price. The scout's voice shook. I don't understand. We only came to study your planet. We meant no harm. The man smiled faintly. Intentions do not matter. Actions have consequences. The scout tried to move past him, but the forest twisted around him. Roots grew from the ground. Branches bent to block his path. Shadows thickened, closing in from every side. Panic surged. In his chest, he fired his weapon, beams of light slicing through the darkness, but they dissolved in the air before hitting anything. No, this cannot happen. He shouted. The man's voice was calm, steady. You underestimate us. You think humans are weak. You think weapons define power, but we are more than that. You have not seen our true strength. From the shadows, more humans emerged. Men and women, children too, standing silently, eyes glowing. The scout counted at least 50, surrounding him completely. The scout raised his voice. We will not fall. I will fight. A laugh echoed from all directions. You fight because you do not understand. You survive because you must learn. But you will learn too late. The scout fired again, aiming at the nearest figure. The beam passed harmlessly through him. The human stepped forward, calm, and raised a hand. Instantly, the forest responded. Roots shot from the ground, wrapping around the scout's legs. Arms, he struggled, but the more he fought, the tighter the grip became. The scout gasped. What is this? You are in our world, the man said. Everything here obeys us. The planet itself fights with us. Resistance is useless. The scout twisted, trying to break free, but the humans advanced silently, eyes glowing. Brighter, the pale scout realized he was completely surrounded, and for the first time he understood the truth. Humanity was not weak, not small, not fragile. They were alive in a way he could not comprehend, and Earth itself was their weapon. Voice, soft and cold, came from the trees. The girl appeared again, stepping lightly onto the forest floor. Her eyes glowed brighter than before. Do not resist, she said. It will only make the end sharper. The scout's weapon clattered to the ground as Roots lifted him off. His feet, he kicked and struggled, but gravity and Earth itself worked against him. Panic consumed him. I can't die here. He shouted. The man stepped closer. Death is not what you fear. What you fear is losing control. And now, you have none. The forest hummed with energy. Shadows moved unnaturally, twisting and stretching. Branches bent like fingers, roots snaked like living ropes. Every motion the scout made seemed to feed the forest's strength. He tried to speak again. I am a scout. I serve the council. They will send more. The girl shook her head. Slowly, no one comes after you. Earth chooses its own guardians. No council can interfere. No fleet can take what we protect. The scout realized then that the previous scouts had not been taken, they had been claimed. And now he was next. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through his armor and bones. The trees moved closer, the shadows pressed in. He screamed, thrashing violently, but the human's presence was absolute. Suddenly, he felt himself lifted higher, floating above the forest floor. The roots released him just enough for the girl to step under him, calm and smiling. She raised her hand, and the forest obeyed. The scout's weapon flew from his grasp, spinning uselessly in the air. You see. Now, she said, how weak you truly are. Yet strength is not measured by armor or weapons. It is measured by unity, by harmony with the world. The scout tried to respond, but his voice failed. Fear had paralyzed him. He understood now that humans were not just creatures, they were part of Earth itself, moving as one with the land, the trees, and the air. The man stepped forward. You wanted to learn about humans, now you know. We are more than what you imagined. We survive, we protect, we endure. And you will not leave. The scout's body shuddered as invisible forces held him in place. Every scream, every struggle, only strengthened the humans around him. Panic became realization. There was no escape. No technology, no weapons, no speed could overcome this unity. The girl whispered again, softer this time. Do not fight what you cannot fight. Accept your place. Learn from it. The scout's vision blurred, his body heavy, mind reeling. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears as the humans slowly closed in. Calm and unyielding, he felt the last shred of control slip from his grasp. The forest hummed louder, energy vibrating through his entire body. And in that moment, he understood the ultimate truth. Earth was alive, humans were alive, and he had intruded upon a power far greater than he or his council had ever known. One final trembling breath, the pale scout was pulled into the shadows, swallowed by Earth itself. Silence fell immediately afterward, the forest returning to its calm, deceptive beauty. The girl stood in the clearing, eyes glowing faintly. She whispered to the trees, "All watchers are claimed. The lesson is complete." Above, the moonlight touched the forest, calm and serene. Yet beneath that calm, a quiet power pulsed, unseen, unstoppable, and eternal. The forest was silent, but it was not peaceful. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and every tree seemed to lean closer, observing. Only one scout remained. The youngest had vanished, the tall scout was gone, and the pale scout had been claimed. Now he stood trembling, alone in a world that seemed alive. He whispered to himself, I cannot leave. I cannot escape." A soft, almost musical voice called from the shadows. "You understand now, do you not?" The scout spun, weapon raised, but nothing appeared at first. Then a girl stepped out, her eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. Her presence was calm, yet terrifying. "You cannot fight us," she said. "You cannot fight Earth." The scout's voice trembled. "Why? Why do you do this? Why take us?" The girl tilted her head. "We do not take. We teach. Every scout before you thought they could learn. They thought humans were weak, fragile, ordinary. And every one of them vanished." The scout's heart raced. I am different. I will survive." The girl smiled faintly, and the forest responded. Roots rose from the ground, twisting, moving like living ropes. Branches arched overhead, blocking the sky. Shadows danced across the floor. Survival is not about strength alone. It is about understanding. "You do not understand." The scout fired his weapon. The beams of light passed harmlessly through the girl. She did not move, did not flinch. The forest hummed, growing louder, vibrating through his body. He fired again, desperation in his voice. "I will not die here." The girl's voice was calm. "You are already part of it. Every moment you resist, every step you take, you become part of the lesson." Suddenly, dozens of human figures appeared, surrounding him silently. Men, women, and children all standing perfectly still, their eyes glowing faintly. They did not speak, but their presence pressed on him like a living weight. He swung his weapon wildly. "Leave me alone." But the humans did not react. They only advanced slowly, together, in perfect silence. Roots from the forest crept forward, wrapping around his legs and arms. He struggled, but every movement only tightened the grip. The scout realized then that Earth itself was working with them, bending the forest to its will. Every tree, every shadow, every root was alive. He was trapped completely. Why are you so strong?" he shouted. A voice came from all directions at once, calm and synchronized. "Because we are not alone. Humans and Earth are one. We see all, feel all, control all. Every scout before you learned this lesson, you will too." The scout's breath came in short, panicked gasps. He felt himself lifted slightly off the ground. Roots held him in the air, twisting, bending, unyielding. He struggled, but it was useless. The girl stepped closer. Do you understand now? He shook his head violently. I do not. I will not. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the forest responded instantly. The ground trembled, shadows stretched, and whispers filled the air. The scout felt the voices of his missing companions in the wind, faint but real, calling to him. Do not resist. The girl said softly, There is no escape. Only understanding remains. The scout screamed, swinging his arms. I will survive. I will return. The girl's smile remained, unchanging. Return? Where? You cannot return. Earth does not allow intruders. Humans do not allow witnesses. Every scout who thought they could leave has become part of the lesson. The scout's vision blurred. Panic overwhelmed him. The forest's hum grew louder, vibrating through his bones. The humans moved closer, silently, their eyes glowing brighter. Please. I will learn, he cried. The girl nodded slowly. Then open your mind. Do not fight. Only then can you see. The forest shifted suddenly. Shadows rose, roots twisted, and he was pulled gently to the ground. The humans stepped back, forming a circle around him. The girl extended her hand, and a faint light flowed into the scout. Images flashed in his mind. The earth alive, humans moving in harmony with the land. Every scout before him, every hidden power he had never imagined. He gasped. I see now, you are everything. The girl's voice was soft, almost comforting. Yes, we are Earth, we are humans, we are guardians. You have learned the truth, now accept it. The scout fell to his knees, overwhelmed, his mind racing. Fear still lingered, but understanding began to take root. He realized the true power of the planet, the unity of humans, and why the Council scouts had never returned. The girl smiled faintly. You may leave now if you wish. But remember, Earth always watches, always protects. You cannot take anything from here. You can only learn. The scout rose slowly, trembling but alive. The forest no longer pressed on him. The humans receded into the shadows, leaving him alone. The hum of life remained, calm now, steady. He walked carefully toward the direction where his ship had landed. His armor was scratched and dim, but he survived. He realized that returning would not be simple. The Council would demand answers, and he could only give them one. Humans and Earth were far beyond their understanding. From the trees, the girl watched silently, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. The scout looked back, feeling her presence, and whispered, I will tell them, but they will never believe. The girl's smile was calm, almost gentle. They may not believe, but Earth endures, humans endure. And we will always see. The scout finally reached his ship. As he lifted off, he glanced back at the forest. The shadows seemed calm, almost welcoming. He realized he had survived not because of strength or weapons, but because he had learned. Above, the moon shone on Earth, calm and serene, hiding power that no fleet could ever measure. The forest hummed quietly beneath him, and for the first time, he understood the true meaning of the warning. No scout ever returns unless they understand. The scout's ship hovered above the forest, its engines humming softly. Below, the trees stretched endlessly, calm and quiet, as if nothing had happened, yet he knew better. Every shadow, every root, every rustle of leaves had been alive, watching. Waiting, he exhaled slowly, trying to calm his racing heart. I survived, he whispered. I am the first to come back. To see it, to understand. A voice came over his communicator, crackling. Scout, report. Did you find the anomaly? The scout hesitated. Yes. But it's not what we expected. Humans and Earth, they are different. They are alive. Stronger than anything we imagined. There was silence on the line. Then another voice, sharper, commanding. Explain yourself. What do you mean by alive? Humans are ordinary. The scout shook his head. No, you cannot understand. They move with the planet. They see everything. They are the forest, the rivers, the air itself. We are nothing there. Every scout before me. They disappeared because they did not understand. A pause, then a voice full of doubt. You exaggerate. You are stressed. We need your data, not your fear. The scout looked down at Earth, the moonlight reflecting on oceans and forests. No, I am not exaggerating. Earth itself protects. Them, humans are part of it. They can stop us without weapons. Every scout, every observer, never returns because they do not see the truth. I barely escaped because I finally understood. The communicator went silent, static hissing in his ears. He felt the weight of their disbelief pressing on him. He had seen the impossible and lived, but how could he make anyone else understand? Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught his eye. The forest below shifted. Shadows stretched and swayed, forming shapes. He squinted. A figure appeared, the girl, standing at the edge of the clearing. Her eyes glowed softly. He swallowed hard. You are still there? She raised her hand slightly, and the wind carried a soft voice into his mind. We are always here, watching, waiting. You understand now, do you not? Yes, he whispered, his hands trembling on the control panel. I understand. You are Earth, humans, alive. And nothing we do can stop you. The girl smiled. Faintly, and the forest seemed to bow to her presence. Trees bent, shadows shimmered, and a wave of calm passed over him. He realized then that Earth was not just alive, it was conscious, aware of every intruder, every movement. And humans were its guardians, its voice, its living shield. A sudden thought struck him. If we tell them, the council, fleets, they will come, they will try to take control. The girl's voice, calm and steady, echoed through his mind. Let them come. They will learn as you have learned. Earth does not fight for pride. It fights for survival. Those who do not understand are claimed. Those who learn, survive. The scout swallowed, fear and awe mixing in his chest. And I survived because I understood, because I listened. But they will never believe. They will call me mad. A soft wind carried her voice again. Belief is not needed. Understanding is. You survive not to teach others, but to remember. To witness, that is enough. He looked down at the forests, mountains, rivers, all glowing faintly under the moonlight. It is beautiful. And terrifying. I have never seen such power. Such unity. From the trees, faint movements shimmered. Human figures appeared briefly, watching, calm, silent. Their eyes glowed faintly, and the scout felt their awareness pressing on him, not as a threat, but as a quiet, absolute authority. Lowered his hands from the controls, realizing the enormity of what he had witnessed. We are nothing here, nothing at all, he whispered. Not even our weapons, our fleets, they mean nothing. A sudden thought made his stomach twist. What if they come for us again? What if the council sends more scouts? The girl's voice floated again, soft, almost a whisper on the wind. Then they will learn as you did, or they will be claimed. Earth does not need to fight, it simply is, and it watches. The scout exhaled slowly, relief and terror mixing together. He had survived, but only because he understood the rules of this world. Humanity and Earth were not just alive, they were eternal, patient, and unstoppable. Thank you, he whispered into the darkness. I will never forget. The girl tilted her head, faintly smiling. Remember and live. But do not return. You are free because you have learned. As the scout lifted off, the forest below seemed to shimmer one last time. Shadows twisted and settled, roots sank back into the soil, and the humans disappeared among the trees. Yet their presence remained silent, watchful, eternal. He looked back one final time, feeling both fear and awe. The forest, the humans, Earth itself, they were alive in a way that no weapon, no fleet, no scout could ever challenge. He understood now why none had returned before him. Above, the moonlight touched the planet. Calm, serene, yet filled with power unseen. The scout's heart pounded. He realized that no matter how far he flew, he would never forget. And he would never underestimate Earth again. The communicator crackled again, voices calling him back to duty, but he remained silent, staring down at the living world below. "They cannot fight it," he whispered. "They cannot fight us. Not really, not ever." And with that, the scout charted a course home, carrying the story no one would believe, the truth no one could deny, and the memory of a planet that was alive, unstoppable, and eternal.